It's Friday. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to First Take. Carry champions hit Bayless, Stephen A. Smith. We're all in house. Good morning, gents.
Speak for yourself about the kids.
Oh,
I'm not sure I still qualify.
You're almost. How's it going, Stephen A?
You don't still qualify, but it's all right. It's all right. I've had better evenings, to say the least. So
yeah, you have.
You know, it was a rough day. Even so, it was a rough night for the Green Bay Packers.
I'd give you a hug, but I can't reach over that far.
Yeah.
And by the way, before you go, we want to thank Mike and Mike for having us on their show.
It was great.
We appreciate that.
Great time this morning.
It was an upgrade, no? You made him look better.
I think it was the other way around.
Oh,
Thank you.
Coming up on our show today, a big weekend in the NFL, Manning versus Luck. What should we expect from RG3? Plus, we take a look at some college ball. If Michigan State or Oregon lose this weekend, are they out of the college football playoff? But first, Seattle beats Green Bay 36-16. The defending Super Bowl champions started the season the way they ended it, in dominant fashion. Seahawks running game was unstoppable, led by Marshawn Lynch. 110 yards, 2 touchdowns. Lynch averaged 5.5 yards per carry, and it was his 20th 100-plus game. Percy Harvin, meanwhile, 100 yards combined for rushing as well and receiving. Let's listen to Russell Wilson talk about what happened.
We played a great game. You know, defensively we were lights out. Offensively, we were so physical, made a lot of plays. So many guys got the football. You know, our physical running game was definitely showed up tonight. We did a good job in the passing game, especially in the first half. That third quarter, we kind of slowed down a little bit for whatever reason. But we finished the game really strong.
Strong, to say the least. Stephen A., what happened last night?
The Green Bay Packers lost to a better team. They lost to a superior team. They lost to a tougher team. They lost to a team that appeared to have considerably more heart than they did. Whatever they did to the Denver Broncos in the Super Bowl, to some degree, to a slightly lesser degree, they did to the Green Bay Packers last night, Skip Bayless, and it is just that simple. We will elaborate extensively on the play of Aaron Rodgers before this particular segment is over, but I will say to you that Marshawn Lynch, averaging over 5 yards a carry, seemingly able to do whatever he wanted to do, not getting touched at all until he passed the line of scrimmage. That resonated. Percy Harvin being utilized. I mean, he's a wideout. He's in the slot. He's using him. I mean, everywhere you turned, you know, he was just making an impact and a difference. There didn't seem to be any concern that Golden Tate was gone. They were winning the battle at the line of scrimmage. And defensively, they were just dominant. It's just that simple. Eddie Lacy left with a concussion in the fourth quarter. That's not good news. Aaron Rodgers, a pedestrian, 23 of 33 for 189 yards. I said he's a bad man. Last night he was just bad.
Thank you.
He didn't show up, as far as I'm concerned. And again, we'll elaborate on him. Mike McCarthy, to me, dropped the ball as well. I'll elaborate on him a little bit later. In the end, the Super Bowl champions showed why they're Super Bowl champions, enough to almost make me modify my pick about who was going to the Super Bowl. I mean, the level of dominance that I saw last night, I said, damn.
It's too late.
It's not too late.
I'm not doing it yet.
It's not too late. I'm going to give you a mulligan.
No, I'm not. Don't give me a mulligan. Don't give me a mulligan. If I'm wrong and I have to eat crow in the weeks to come, I will. But I'm telling you right now, what I will acknowledge is this, and this is a foregone conclusion. We all knew this, because remember, when I talked about New Orleans, I'm thinking they'll get the #1 seed and they won't have to go to Seattle. We all understand that if the road to the Super Bowl has to go literally through the city of Seattle, Washington, that the Seahawks are going back to the Super Bowl. And I saw nothing to dissuade me from feeling that way last night. You just don't want to have to play there. You just don't.
I tried to warn you on yesterday's show when you tried to make a case last night would be a close game, and then you did not pick the Seahawks, but you did pick the Saints to get to the Super Bowl. I said, you know, the Legion of Boom is watching our show. They watch our show.
Yes, they do.
And you know about those forearms that they were just like playfully delivering to your head, right?
Right, that's right.
Yeah, so I think you helped contribute to their cause last night.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I doubt it. I think they would have done that anyway, but go ahead.
Here's my big picture takeaway from last night. At home, at night, the Seattle Seahawks are now the surest thing and the most unbeatable team in all of sports. Is that fair?
Yes.
Fair.
It's just that's what's happening. And I know Seahawks fans thought their conspiracy theory is that the NFL has tried to take away some of their home night games this year, because you remember, that was their last one. After this, they play 3 more night games, and they're all on the road at Washington, at San Francisco, at Arizona. So I think it's not a conspiracy theory. I think it's a reality theory, because we know how this league works. It's all about parity, baby. And the league is going to work to make it as difficult as possible for the champs to repeat. That's why it's so difficult to repeat.
Right.
So in this case, they're going to give them opening night at home, and the rest of the time you ain't getting these gimme games anymore, because nobody can beat them
at home
in that stadium at night, especially at night when you give that crowd the whole day to get ready for that game. Okay, now in fairness, I'm going to be objective here. Obviously, Green Bay lost its right tackle, Brian Bulaga. And that Derek Sherrard, he just couldn't handle it. He had 2 big breakdowns that were crucial in the game. And the great irony of that game was your team that you said would play a close game had 1 shot, a 3rd down, that it looked like they had stopped Seattle on. And guess what got called? Defensive holding on the Packers.
Yep.
Not one time all night were the Seattle Seahawks, and everybody said this is the Seahawks rule, the way they're calling it this year. No defensive holdings, no illegal contacts called on the home team. There weren't a whole lot of penalties in the game. I mean, it was a pretty clean game compared to all those the
preseason,
the flag fests that were the preseason. So I'm going to give you those 2. But now, on the other side of the coin, if Earl Thomas doesn't muff the punt, with a little assist from Richard Sherman, who kind of blocked his guy into Earl, and if our guy Bobby Wagner didn't have a deep pass interference, I think those are some gift points that Green Bay got. What if you take those 2 screw-ups away? Is that fair? Then it could have been even worse than it was. And here's my scariest thought of all for the whole night. I kept saying that Russell Wilson through the preseason was playing at a Peyton-esque level. Last night, not so much. I thought he was a little off, especially his pocket throws. He wasn't on fire the way he was on fire in the preseason. He had the 2 touchdown passes, and they were both what I would call trick plays or tricky plays, where you fool the defense. It was a better call because one went to the 3rd receiver, Lockett, the other went to the fullback. You fool the defense more than the quarterback made a great play, right? Okay, so he can play even better than he played last night. And then finally, let's get to rushing the football. Seattle had 207 yards rushing. You know and I know the question about Green Bay's defense coming off last year was, can they stop the run? Now, this team can really run the football, but 207, not a pretty sight. And you brought up Percy Harvin. I said yesterday he would be the comeback player of the year in the NFL. Yeah. Here's my takeaway on him last night. He just might be the quickest and fastest man in the league, but does anybody run harder and more fearlessly than Percy Harvin does?
No, they don't.
So you're combining,
we could tell.
You're combining rare quickness and speed with big guts, man. And again, it's almost to his detriment because sometimes he blows himself up. But does he not run hard with the football? You put it in his hands and he's just like kamikaze running up through there with his head going first. And you say, uh-oh, look out, look out, look out. But he has got to be the most dangerous weapon in the game now, other than a quarterback, to me.
You know, interesting that we read this quote. Michael Bennett, who obviously had his way with Sherrod. He says, quote, obviously, we were the more physical team today, offensively and defensively. I saw supposedly some of the best players in the league not want to tackle Marshawn Lynch. Of course, nobody is going to say nothing about that, but I've seen a lot of guys whiff on tackles that should have been 2-yard gains, and they're supposed to be the best. To me, that was a direct shot at Clay Matthews and those boys.
You think so?
I mean, I think so.
I thought Clay Matthews played pretty well.
He had 4 tackles, but what I'm saying is when you think about Green Bay's defense, who do you think about? That's who you think about.
Okay. So I don't think he was afraid. Maybe some of the other guys
when you make a statement like that, supposedly some of the best players in the league, and not want to tackle Marshawn Lynch, who else am I to think about when I'm talking about the Green Bay's defense? I'm thinking about him and A.J. Hawk. In the end, I'm not knocking anybody individually outside of Rodgers. For me, collectively, Green Bay is going to have a problem defensively. They're going to have a problem when teams out-physical you in the sport of football.
Yep.
That is a bad sign because that's a message being sent to everybody else coming down the pike who's going to play against you. And that's my concern about what I saw from Green Bay last night. I thought that to some degree their hearts got snatched out of their chest too.
And you know, over the last 2 years, their big issue has been they can't beat the Seattles and the San Franciscos.
Yeah.
It's been it.
Right?
Yeah. So they have a hard time.
Defense.
At this point, it'd be hard for us to say after seeing that game last night. Although I know you said you give him a mulligan, he's not going to take it yet. It's hard to see anybody can beat.
Maybe by the end of this show.
Can beat
I don't
the Seahawks.
Not
I
by
don't
the end
know.
of the show. Not by the end of the show. Maybe by the end of the weekend.
Stephen A., you talked about the bad man and said he was just bad. Aaron Rodgers, 23 of 33 for 189 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Before the game, Rodgers was asked about Richard Sherman. Said, he says he gets bored on that side. No one wants to throw the ball his way. Rodgers did not take that challenge. The cornerback is on the defense now.
This is the Seattle Seahawks. They're a great defense. You don't expect to be able to move the ball effectively every down, every drive, but yeah, you got to score more points. Whether it's at the line of scrimmage or 5 yards down, past line of scrimmage, those guys come up and make tackles. I mean, we didn't break a lot of tackles. We didn't have a lot of explosive gains in the passing game or the running game, and we had too many penalties.
All right, so we're giving out grades. We want to talk about that bad man. Overall, what grade did you give Aaron Rodgers? Stephen A., it's for you.
I give Aaron Rodgers an F.
Ooh, wow.
Wow.
A failing grade. Not because of his numbers. They're relatively pedestrian. Again, 23 of 33, 189 yards. It has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do with the fact that they lost 36-16. It has everything to do with the fact that the guy that I consider to be the best quarterback in the game of football, in terms of his talent, his accuracy throwing the football, his athleticism, his ability to evade and run out of the pocket and move the chains, I think as a quarterback, he is the total package. And I saw a guy that I consider to be the best quarterback in the game run away from Richard Sherman. Not one attempt.
Not one.
Not one to the right side of the field where Richard Sherman is on that island. Not one attempt. Nothing. I do not want to hear about Mike McCarthy, the head coach, calling the plays. I don't want to hear it. Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback. I consider him the best. Others would say he's one of the best. You go up to your coach and you talk about how you want to be a bit versatile. You want to open the field up. You want to sit here and you want to go. You don't want to be limited to anything. And Skip, I bring baseball into the equation as a comparison. If Barry Bonds, who you covered, if Barry Bonds, the great Barry Bonds, was at the plate, and you, as I have seen him intentionally walked on many occasions.
Many occasions.
You ever saw Randy Johnson intentionally walk him? Could you imagine Roger Clemens walking him? Would you think about the elite pitchers in the history of the game of baseball intentionally walking an elite hitter? No, because this is what it's all about, baby. And I'm looking at Richard Sherman over there. He's been telling everybody he's one of the best. He validated it last year. He deserves every penny of what he got in the offseason with his $57 million contract. He still hasn't changed. He's still there, all right, on the left side of the defense for the Seattle Seahawks, daring you to come his way, telling the world he's bored, telling the world he wants to be challenged. And the best, in my opinion, is coming to town and doesn't even look at you for the entire night. Now, I understand there's only 26 minutes of offense that the Green Bay Packers had in terms of times of possession. Had about 8 penalties for 65 yards. I get all of that. But I just looked at Aaron Rodgers and I was like, really? I cannot believe, and I don't believe that would have happened with Tom Brady. I do not believe. I think Peyton Manning tried. He just wasn't successful. I thought when New England lost to Seattle a couple of years ago, Tom Brady tried. He just wasn't successful.
Yep.
Aaron Rodgers did not throw one pass in Richard Sherman's direction. And to me, that is just, and we all know how I feel about Aaron Rodgers.
Yes, you love him.
Right? That is just cowardly.
Okay.
Oof.
That's
just a strong word.
And listen. I watched the game. I've been watching the game all my life, but I don't sit here and pretend to be some aficionado. I understand that Mike McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers have more knowledge about football in their pinky than I do. But I know what I saw.
Okay.
And it was cowardly that I know Mike McCarthy calls it, and I know he had a lot to do with it, but you are Aaron Rodgers. If you went over to that coach and told him you wanted to attack, he would have done it. I'm putting this on Aaron Rodgers, man. It's a flat-out F. I was very disappointed.
Well, we weren't going to bring up this tweet, but since he went there and he gave Aaron Rodgers an F, we got to talk about the tweet Richard Sherman just sent out. Well, not just, but about 8 hours ago. It said, when you are great, you make your opponent adjust to you. You don't adjust to suit them. Again, when you are great, you make your opponent adjust to you. You don't adjust to suit them.
And by the way, that quote is a slight paraphrase of a quote in Tim Grover's book, Relentless. So I'm pretty sure, because I know that they were all the defense was given those books, Relentless, this year, so I'm assuming Richard read the book because it's a great book. So it's a paraphrase, but it's a powerful paraphrase of that quote. And look, I kid you about Aaron Rodgers, but I'm going to be serious now. He's clearly in my top 4 quarterbacks. And I was just disappointed in him last night because truly, from my heart, I went into the game at 8:30. I'm sitting up on my couch, man, ready for this to happen because I thought Aaron Rodgers was just cocky enough, just supremely confident enough that his game plan would be, we're going to attack the best, because we think we're better than the best, to get back to Richard Sherman's tweet and quote. And I was dumbfounded that they lined up little boykins over there all night and just said, we give up, man. We're just going to play half the field over here. We're going to go at Jeremy Lane till he pulled his groin, or we're going to go at whoever, anybody but this guy. It's wrong because it sends the wrong message to your locker room. Your whole team is thinking, we're not good enough to beat them, especially at this place, at this hour of the night. And I'm not giving, I was doing A-Raj is going to be C-Raj in my book for this game. I'm going to give him a C because, again, he made some throws that were pretty good. There were a lot of dink and dunk throws, but he did lead Jordy Nelson a little too far on the one pass that got tipped up into the interception. It just wasn't vintage Aaron Rodgers kind of throw. Then my other issue with him, and we'll get back to not going at Richard Sherman, but on the 2 whiffs by the new right tackle, the backup tackle, they were from his front side, his vision side. And we're always talking, or at least I'm always hearing about how athletic Aaron Rodgers is, how mobile he is. Well, you can see that guy coming. You can see Cliff Averill on the ill-fated 4th down. If you're that good, you make him miss, or you get rid of the ball.
He could have got the first down.
Okay, somehow.
And threw it.
Okay.
And threw it instead.
Okay.
You're kind of closing up deer in headlights a little bit. And then on the Michael Bennett sack, the strip fumble for the safety, you can see him. He kind of ducked inside from him. But I don't know. That's not the Aaron Rodgers that I've come to respect. I just thought it was a poor performance on his part, but I'm going to give him a C because he did some good things.
But the reason why I refuse to give him the C is that, like you said, Aaron Rodgers making a couple of terrific throws is par for the course.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what he does.
Yeah.
And if he had a bad game, so what? He had a bad game. I'd sit here, skip, and say he had a bad game. That's all. But the reason why I give the F is because the best, one of the best in the game in the eyes of many, the best in the game in my eyes, didn't even try to challenge the best on the opposite side of the ball. I mean, that's a big, big deal to me. One of the reasons why, listen, we talk about Marshawn Lynch, okay? But they talk about beast mode when they mention Marshawn Lynch. You know what beast mode really, really means? I'm coming. I'm coming. It doesn't matter who's on the opposite side of the ball. I'm coming. Get ready, because trust you me, I'm not scared. You better get ready. I'm coming with it. And to me, it's like that was the first time in my career of talking about Aaron Rodgers that I sat there and I said, I can't call him the bad man.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe what I was watching. I'm like, you're not even going to challenge Richard Sherman? You're not going to try? What do you have to lose? What do you have to lose? I mean, it's a 17-10 game at the half. You're lucky they didn't score to end the half, and then they got the ball first in the second half. They could have put the game away. You stopped them on both possessions. You still had an opportunity to make things happen. But it's like, listen, I just looked at it and I said, my Lord, man, I expect this. I've never in my wildest dreams thought that I would see Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy scared to attack a complete side of a field. I never thought in my wildest dreams I would see that.
Last quick point. Who was the greatest cornerback ever in everybody's estimation?
Prime time?
Thank you very much.
Prime time.
The most fascinating game I ever witnessed and also attended was the NFC Championship game at the end of the 1994 season at San Francisco.
That's right,
when
Jerry
the Cowboys,
Rice.
No, but the Cowboys fell behind 21-0 and had to throw it at Deron. Michael Irvin versus Deion Sanders, best friends, head-to-head, nose-to-nose, and Aikman just said, I'm going to throw it to him every time. And guess what?
Yep.
Michael won a bunch of the battles. Deion won his share. But the Dallas Cowboys almost came back and won the football game because they just said, we are going to go at the greatest because we think our guy's pretty good too, Michael Irvin.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, you talking about when Dallas lost the NFC Championship?
Yeah, they lost,
Barry
but they
Switz's
almost.
First year.
This Barry Switz's first year. Thank you. But again, that was greatness against greatness.
Right.
Do they not think?
But let me tell you what. But let me tell you why. And that brings up something because I might have dropped the ball here. I can't just blame Aaron Rodgers now. I got to look at the receivers too, because let me tell you something. When you think about Michael Irvin, you trying to tell me that Michael Irvin didn't go to Switzer and then go to Aikman? Throw me the damn ball.
Yeah.
You
throw me the damn. You know how Michael Irvin is.
Do you think Jordy Nelson did that last night?
No, I don't.
No, he didn't do it.
Did he get paid this year?
He got paid big time, and Randall Cobb's trying to get paid.
All right. So Skip Bayless says, what message does that send to your locker room?
Well, I'm just saying he's making a valid point because Michael Irvin, who was kind enough to come on my radio show yesterday. Michael Irvin, the playmaker, Skip's coming. Michael Irvin, the playmaker, you don't have to even ask him. You know, based on his personality alone, he said, "Give me the damn ball. Throw it over
but
here."
Stephen A., Skip said, what message does that send to your locker room? That this bad man is afraid of one side of the field. What message is he sending?
Well, the message that it sends to the locker room is that you didn't believe you could get it done. And who would have ever thought that Aaron Rodgers, the great Aaron Rodgers, wouldn't believe he could get it done against somebody? I could not believe what I was seeing. Like I said, I think it's appropriate just for this particular game. Because you know how I feel about Aaron Rodgers. But it was very cowardly of him not to attack Richard Sherman.
Friend of our show,
McCarthy.
Bobby Wagner says everyone's afraid.
Yep, they do.
It's looking.
And by the way, I can't wait to hear Darren Woodson's take on this later in the show.
We will discuss this again. Why, in fact, the baddest man decided not to throw to that side of the field. Darren Woodson will join that debate at the top of the hour. Florida State has launched a Title IX investigation of Heisman Trophy-winning quarterback Jameis Winston in regards to an alleged 2012 rape of a female student, according to the woman's attorney. John Clune told ESPN that his client was interviewed by the school on August 7th. Clune told USA Today that the school also interviewed 2 other people but wasn't sure if one of them was Winston. No charges were filed against Winston following an investigation by Florida State attorneys because of insufficient evidence. However, Title IX mandates schools investigate and adjudicate sexual harassment and violence cases separate of any criminal investigation. Florida State declined comment on the specific investigation when contacted by the paper. Winston family advisor David Cornwell said in a statement, "We anticipate the same conclusion that followed her previous 3 statements to the Tallahassee Police Department, Florida State's attorney's office, and the FSU Code of Student Conduct hearing. Jameis Winston did not sexually assault the woman." Cornwell had her name. ESPN has decided not to use the name. Stephen A. Smith, your reaction?
My reaction is that in the court of public opinion, Jameis Winston is in a world of trouble. Certainly not the court of law, because the district attorney elected not to continue and not to press charges after they conducted their investigation. But there is no denying that this is not going away. I think Florida State, somewhere along the line, whether it's federal officials or putting pressure on the university or something along those lines, FSU is now conducting its own Title IX investigation. Where this gets a bit shady is that it specifically states here, Title IX suggests the school's investigation into any report of sexual misconduct should be completed within 60 days. You understand? Here we are, more than a year later. You understand? And the investigation is ongoing. I understand what the district attorney elected to do, but there is nothing that should have prevented Florida State from conducting its own investigation. And the fact that it hasn't, apparently, using the excuse that Jameis Winston was unwilling to cooperate and give testimony, I find that unacceptable. And here's why. Jameis Winston is the quarterback for the Florida State Seminoles. Now, I understand that, you do have your rights. You've got a lawyer, you've got somebody, the great David Cornwell, representing the family, highlighting how the victim in question, the lady, she's told her story on 4 different occasions now, and she just cooperated with FSU in terms of the Title IX investigation. I get that part. But what I don't understand, and where I'm at a loss, Skip, Kerry, I don't understand how Florida State was unable to compel Jameis Winston to speak. Now, I know from a legal perspective they can't do it, but then he don't have to play for the school. This is just me talking. If you have been accused of a crime, of a felony, I do understand that you have your lawyers that have to guard and safeguard you from your rights, from the perspective of your civil rights, etc. I get that part. And I get the part that you want to make sure you don't talk to the media about anything. But if I am Florida State, particularly Coach Jimbo Fisher, I'll be damned if you ain't going to tell me what happened. You're going to talk to me. Otherwise, you're going to get off this team. Yeah. You're going to get off this team. And so for me, we talk about Jameis Winston, and to me, this is yet another thing that puts him in the spotlight in a negative fashion. But the one thing that I can definitively say I feel beyond a shadow of a doubt, Skip, is that FSU doesn't get a pass here. Because just like it's a privilege to play in professional sports leagues, it's also a privilege to play for a college or university. And if I am the boss, whether it's the provost, it's the chancellor, it's the president of Florida State University, if I'm the head coach, if I'm the athletic director, you don't get to sit there and say, I'm not going to cooperate with any kind of investigation for the purposes of the school. Legal is one thing, but this Title IX investigation is about the school. You're going to cooperate with that, and it's not going to be a year later. So FSU shouldn't get a pass. That's the one thing I can definitively say.
Has Jameis Winston violated FSU's code of conduct because he has not spoken? Yes. Now, what's the penalty for that? What's the punishment for that? I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure that he has violated that conduct code. Now, big picture. I do appreciate that Title IX has provided a backstop, a fail-safe, a safety net, just in case you have a situation in which local authorities, or maybe state authorities, give a little bit of preferential treatment to an accused star athlete at one of these football factory kind of schools. Because this requires now that the school says, time out. In this case, Willie Meggs, State Attorney General, said, well, I'm choosing not to charge Jameis. I'm not going to pursue this case because I don't think there's enough evidence to win a conviction. That's what Willie Meggs said.
That's right.
But under Title IX, now Florida State is required, no matter how long it takes. They seem delinquent here. It seems like it's dragged on for a long time. And again, maybe it is true what Fred Cornwell says, that she delayed the process. I'm sorry, Fred Cornwell. David Cornwell. I covered a Fred Cornwell once upon a time. But maybe, I don't know why it got delayed. I'm not sure about what the truth is. But it is now happening as it, by law, has to happen. So now the point is, where do you go from here? Because you realize what happened at a school I love, whose program I love, the University of Oklahoma? Frank Shannon, leading tackler, involved in an incident in which he was accused of sexually assaulting a woman. Then, as we often hear,
he was set up.
He said he was set up, and she finally chose not to pursue the charges. And the DA says, well, there are conflicting accounts, so I'm not going to pursue this case. University of Oklahoma stepped in, did its due diligence, did its homework, and said, Frank Shannon, leading tackler, you are gone for the football season. Now, I'm reading that he may be pursuing that in court. Maybe go to the...
was practicing with the team trying to, play because he's...
But I'm saying. Then there's another kid, one of the top recruited running backs in the country at the University of Oklahoma, a freshman named Joe Mixon. Incident involved with a woman, which he smacked her in the face, but now his attorney is saying actually she initiated and they would like to see charges filed against her. because he was defending himself. But again, we hear this often. But the university stepped in, did its due diligence, and said, Joe, we're sorry, but you are indefinitely suspended. No charges filed here, none pursued as yet. But nope, you're gone. Okay, that's Title IX at work, I think, in both cases. Did it hurt the University of Oklahoma football program? Yes, it did. Now, her attorney, in this case, in Florida State, he said, we're up against one of the most powerful football programs in America, ranked #1, as we all know. Odds-on pick to win this year's national championship. Okay? So is Title IX at work? Because he broke it down, her attorney did. There are those at Florida State who want to pursue, and there are those who say, no, we should err on the side of our football program and protecting it. What do you think?
Oh, I like well, first of all, you guys both bring up good points. Stephen A., Florida State can't get off the hook here. Like, I don't like the idea that they don't want to, or what seems like they don't want to pursue this investigation. So John Clune is saying there's a power struggle. And then I read Jimbo Fisher's comments, and he's like, this has nothing to do with us. It doesn't affect our program. We're moving on. Here's the problem, especially with sexual assaults, alleged sexual assaults, and especially on campus. And I told you guys this, and I'll just share the story. I wasn't sexually assaulted, but I was attacked on campus.
At UCLA?
At UCLA. I went to the campus police. I shared my story. They told me if I ever saw the guy to call them, but there was nothing much that they could do.
There's no Title IX to protect you in that instance.
There's no Title IX to protect me, but as a victim, what message does that send? Or an alleged victim, what message does that send? It says that they're protected because they're the athlete, and we're not.
Was it an athlete involved with you?
No, it wasn't an athlete involved, but still, the point being is that even if you're a victim and you're involved in something that has to do with sexual assault, you want to feel like you can. I'm saying the bigger picture is you want to feel like someone's going to have your back.
Well, sure.
And with Florida State, I don't like that they want to have a power struggle and they want this just to go away. It's not very fair.
Well, to me, what makes this potentially even worse, if there is such a thing, is the fact that there is something in place, meaning Title IX. It is applicable to this case, and still there has still been a way to circumvent this process. There is no reason why this investigation should be taking place right now as it pertains to Title IX at Florida State University. It should have been handled. It should have been dealt with months ago.
Months ago.
And I'm going to tell you something. We're both, Skip, fans of Jimbo Fisher, the coach.
Sure.
Big time fans. He doesn't look very good with that quote that he put out there because we're just coaching football.
But that's not the that's the
you
wrong
can't say that.
You
can't say that. You cannot say that.
What did you want to hear from him?
Well, what I'm saying is what I wanted to hear from him is that, look, we're very aware of this.
We're
very alarmed by this.
Yes.
We're taking this very serious. There is an ongoing investigation. As the football coach here, I'm limited to what I can say and what I can do about it, but it is being handled by the powers that be at this university, and we need to address this. That is what should have been said from Jimbo Fisher, because when he said what he said, what he was quoted as saying, assuming he was quoted accurately, because everybody can be misquoted, if the quote is accurate, as it pertains to what it's saying Jimbo Fisher said, he came across in a manner that a lot of people looking outside at the athletic world fears the most. That we're in this bubble and we're just doing our thing.
Okay, Skip, let me ask you this. You call it a fail-safe. You say that Title IX, this particular investigation is a fail-safe because the legal system said, not enough evidence. Jameis, we don't need you. We can't do anything with you. We don't have enough evidence to prosecute you. This fail-safe, do you believe it will work and ultimately send a message down the line to these athletes? You can't get away with behaving any way you want to on campus if you, in fact, violated that conduct code at all.
I'm challenging Florida State to do what my school did, University of Oklahoma, to take some action here. Again, depending on what their findings are.
What their findings.
But think about this. Now, I'm a big, I was born and bred University of Oklahoma fan, and I thought they had a chance to at least be in the Final Four this year. Maybe they still do. But these were two huge losses if both kids are gone for the year. And that's because the school stepped in and said, no, we don't care what the legal system didn't say in either case. You're out, man. You're gone.
Go ahead.
Okay, would they, do you think they would suspend Jameis for the rest of the year?
I doubt they would, but here's the bottom line. Bottom line is this. Florida State does not work for Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston works for Florida State, essentially. You can't have a situation where you refuse to cooperate, you refuse to give testimony. Legal system following the advice of your lawyer is one thing. Title IX investigation at the university you play for? Excuse me? Who are you? You play for us. It's not the other way around.
Yeah. All right. We leave it there. 49ers at Cowboys. Game begins 4:25 at Jerry's World. You may remember that Skip Bayless said the Cowboys will win the division. We welcome in our friend.
This is news to him.
Our friend, an NFL analyst, Darren Woodson, former Cowboy. He's at the desk.
Yeah, he was traveling.
Really?
He was traveling yesterday. He didn't know this.
Yeah.
Oh, really? You said this yesterday.
I had an epiphany yesterday.
By default, though. He said it was by default.
By default.
All right, so before we give it over to you, we're going to let Skip Bayless set it up.
Let me explain this to my friend Darren Woodson.
Please do.
One of the great Dallas Cowboys, by the way. Darren, not so bullish on this year's team, as he said on our show 2 or 3 times. I've said many times before the season began, this team has 6-10 written all over it. I believe it's going to go 10-6 and steal the division by default, because the harder I look at Philly, I'm not sold. And definitely the harder I look at Washington, I am not sold, especially on a quarterback I love. In RG3, we're going to talk about him a little later in the show, but he's not right psychologically or physically. All of a sudden, I look at Dallas, and I think we all agree they can score some points. We all agree their defense could be by far the worst defense in the league. But I like the way the schedule sets up, because I think they can beat this 49er team that's reeling as it comes to Jerry World. And we know that Colin Kaepernick struggled through the preseason. They never got in sync, and I don't think they'll be quite in sync on Sunday. And we know about the hits the defense has taken. And, again, just psychologically not in focus yet with the losses, and not sure about Ray McDonald, and it's been one big bad story after another. I'm a Rod Marinelli fan. He's a great motivator. He doesn't have a whole lot to work with, but the defense will start to get healthier down the line. And I think the schedule is not brutal to me, because I'm going to remind you, this Dallas Cowboy team nearly swept the East last year. It came within a late Kyle Orton interception with a minute to go in that game against the Eagles, the last game, of sweeping the division. I think they match up well with these other teams. I think they like to play them. They went to Philly last year and won 17-3 with that all-time bad defense of theirs. So I could see them in a year in which nobody, for the first time, and it seems like forever, is picking them to do anything, could steal this division. How crazy am I?
You're crazy.
Okay.
Absolutely. And I listen, offensively, I see where you're coming from. Offensively, Dez Bryant, probably one of the premier wide receivers in the league. Tony Romo's still coming off of surgery. We'll see what happens there. But
seemed okay.
Offensively, probably one of the best top 5 offensive lines in the league. No doubt about it. But we see the blueprint on how to win championships around here. We're starting to see what Seattle's done, what San Francisco's done over the years. Baltimore Ravens a couple years ago. The key to winning championship and to winning division championships is on the defensive side of the ball. And let's just talk about the Cowboys right now. The strength, and they've said this into this entire offseason, the strength of this defense is going to be the secondary. Well, let's go through the secondary. Brandon Carr missed the entire preseason. His mother passed away. God bless her. He missed the entire preseason. Mo Claiborne has not played the entire preseason simply because of injury. So we're still not sure about him. Their best, who they call their best corner cover guy, Orlando Scandrick, will be suspended for the first 4 games. They have not stopped anyone this entire preseason, whether it be passing or rushing. They don't have a premier pass rusher at all. Henry Melton is a guy that we're not sure if he's going to play 20 or 30 snaps. Just not sure. Anthony Spencer's gone. He's not going to be
for a
there.
while. Yeah.
For a while. So right now, I'm just looking at this game right now. If you are the San Francisco 49ers, and I know their offense has struggled this preseason, if they come out this preseason, this first game in the regular season, and they don't get on track with all the problems that the Cowboys have on that defense, shame on Colin Kaepernick, shame on that entire team, simply because they have all the weapons that they have at their disposal. Vernon Davis, Michael Crabtree, just signed Brandon Lloyd. Bolden. They have Carlos Hyde now, the young rookie. the list goes on and on as far as talent. They have no excuse for not going into Dallas and winning this game big. Not a single excuse.
I agree. Because the Dallas Cowboys stink defensively. And if you stink defensively, then you stink, period, because there's but so much you can do. The days of Ed Coryell or Dan Marino throwing a Mark Super Duper and Mark Clayton and your offense carrying you to the promised land or somewhere close to the promised land in both cases, that's over with. I mean, this is
I thought New Orleans did it when they beat Peyton. I thought that was more offensive.
Their defense was opportunistic.
It was opportunistic. It wasn't great, but it was.
That's right. And Dallas, to their credit, did create some turnovers more last year than they did the previous year, and Rod Marinelli is a motivator. Wasn't much as a head coach in Detroit, we know that.
No, he's a straight defensive coordinator.
But is a straight defensive coordinator. We understand and appreciate that. But the Dallas Cowboys are a circus, and even Marinelli will succumb to that to some degree because it's just too chaotic, devoid of structure. I think we all know that about the Dallas Cowboys. So ultimately it puts the onus on the offense, which means it puts the ball in the hands of Tony Romo, which means you're asking him to come to the rescue time and time and time and time again, which means ultimately, somehow, some way, just be patient and wait. The mistake is coming because they are an accident waiting to happen. These are who the Cowboys are, and it's a shame, and my apologies to you because we love having you on the show, being a former Dallas Cowboy and having to subject you to coming on, to talking about how pathetic they are. But they are, Skip Bayless, and you will see as this season unfolds.
I have a question for Darren Woodson. At what point does a group of athletes, as bad as they are, in the defensive room that they're in, finally get sick and tired of hearing Stephen A. Smith say how pathetic they are?
No, they don't. They're the one team that doesn't watch the show. They can't take it.
Okay.
They can't.
No, trust me. They watch the show.
Okay.
And they love the show.
Oh, they love the show. And they definitely want to go at you.
Listen, all I'm going to say this to the Cowboys. They can come at me all they want to. I've been waiting 4 years. I mean, I haven't been wrong in 4 years.
Okay.
Right?
Whatever
About
11
them.
guys are left, they're going to step on that field for the first defensive snap. After an entire preseason of every time they turned on a TV, a radio, or picked up a newspaper, or clicked on a story, they're pathetic. At what point does your pride kick in and you overachieve? You overachieve.
No,
let's go there. Yeah, the pride is there.
The ability isn't.
Exactly.
All right.
The talent is there. And I understand Rod Marinelli is a great defensive coordinator, great motivator, a guy that really is going to push these guys to another level. But at the same time, when you don't have the talent, when you don't have all three levels, when your secondary is in shambles right now, when your linebacker crew is moved around from one guy to the next, Rolando McClain retired and he came back and now he's back. Now he's a starter. Justin Durant has moved from middle linebacker to outside line. And you
Bruce Carter's not bad.
And you don't have a premier pass rusher.
No, you don't.
That is the issue.
Allow me to interject.
You have to have at some point you have to have somebody.
Allow me to interject because I feel like laughing. So let me entertain myself for a second here. So Melton comes over from Chicago. He's injured. He comes over from Chicago. That's your premier pass rusher. Not only do you let Hatcher. No. I'm saying that. I'm saying he's a premier for them.
Okay.
I'm saying not only do you let Hatcher go, you let him go where? Within the division. Within the division. To Washington. And oh, by the way, what's this guy? DeMarcus Lawrence, you moved up in the draft to get him. He's out with the foot injury. So what do? Here's the state of the Dallas Cowboys. Forget all of this stuff because we understand that he came out and he acknowledged that he's gay and he's openly gay player, first time in NFL history. We understand it. But what do? You go and you make sure, if nothing else, I'm going to steal headlines. Not only do you sign this dude to the practice squad, which I have no problem with because he deserved it and he earned it, but here's my thing. You had a press conference for a practice player. That's unbelievable. I mean, the Dallas Cowboys are special, man.
Seriously.
Special.
I hope Michael Sam is active on Sunday.
I do too.
Seriously.
Hey, y'all.
I need him.
Hey, y'all. Listen, he can be active. He can get 5 sacks. Okay? But do you understand what that says?
No, I don't.
A practice player came on, stepped on the field, and played better than the part you already had.
But hey,
I mean, this is what it is. That's what it is.
They have absolutely admitted that they need a situational pass.
I totally understand that. I'm not hating on that. I'm just saying, what does this say about this? I know Sean Lee's out. He got hurt. I understand Hatcher's gone. I understand that Melton's the dude that you got. I get all of that. I'm just saying, what do I mean when I say it's an accident waiting to happen? I'm not talking just about skills. I'm saying whatever the story is, Scandrick getting suspended, Melton not being healthy, DeMarcus Lawrence not being healthy, Hatcher being whatever has to happen to get in the way, it will happen to them. It's who they are. It's who they are.
All right.
And they're still going to sweep
Time out, Darren. Before we wrap this
Really? No, it's not
Darren.
going to happen this year.
Wait, hold on.
Not going to happen this
You
year.
want to go?
Yes.
We need to get your game pick. Go.
I'm doing my game.
Good.
Go ahead, man.
I'm having the courage of my convictions.
Go.
I do.
Have it.
Dallas 31, Kaepernick and company 28.
Good.
I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, too. I honestly do. I think it's just flip 35-27.
Oh, you're giving them some respect then.
Offensively, they're going to score some points.
They're going to score some points. I'll give them that. But I'm still picking San Francisco to win.
Go big.
34-24.
24? Oh, come on.
All right. And a reminder, check out Skip's column on Jerry Jones versus Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, why Jimmy,
Twister.
by the way, that was our hottest topic of the week.
It was.
And I wrote why Jimmy does not belong in the Ring of Honor.
All right.
And he'll get some of it.
Wait, I know we
y'all
have
should
to
be
wrap
ashamed of
quickly.
yourself.
Yes or no? Ring of Honor, Jimmy Johnson. Quickly.
Darren Woodson, Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah.
There you go. All right, it's on ESPN.com right
Jimmy
now.
Johnson.
Last night, the defending Super Bowl champs walked away from the season opener with a 36-16 victory, and Aaron Rodgers did not throw Richard Sherman's way once. Rodgers completed 5 of 7 passes for 6 yards to the right side, but did not attempt a pass to a wide receiver outside the right numbers where Sherman was in coverage. Richard Sherman tweeted after the game, "When you are great, you make your opponent adjust to you. You don't adjust to suit them." Read it right there, guys. When you are great, you make your opponent adjust to you. You don't adjust to suit them. Darren Woodson chuckling. Your take. Should Rodgers have gone at Sherman?
Do what you do best. I don't care what it is. I don't care who you're going against. Do what you do best. And what Aaron Rodgers does best is he throws the ball outside the numbers on the perimeter. At whomever. I don't care if it's Richard Sherman. I don't care if it's Deion Sanders coming back out of retirement. You throw at the best corner outside the number. And it was an absolute shame for me to watch Aaron Rodgers, who I know is the best quarterback and have said it for the last 3 or 4 years. Aaron Rodgers, hands down, the best quarterback in the league, did not try Richard Sherman.
Why was that?
If it was respect, maybe that's it. But if you're a guy, if I'm Jarrett Boykin, who was the decoy for 4 quarters yesterday, I'm on the plane absolutely upset.
Right.
With not only Mike McCarthy, but Aaron Rodgers, that I didn't get a look or a ball. I played with Deion Sanders. One of the things that's hard, it was always easy to game plan a team when teams didn't throw at Deion, because we just rolled the coverage the other way. Hey, we outnumbered you on the other side of the field. But what was hard is when teams like San Francisco 49ers or the great quarterbacks, guys that would absolutely try Deion, now we had to cover the entire field. Now all the real estate on the field was in play. And it's hard to stop a team when they're utilizing the entire field. Yesterday, if they would have just maybe double moved Richard Sherman, maybe took a shot down the field, maybe got a pass interference, something to keep him honest, something to keep that half of the field honest, it would have probably opened things up. I just could not believe that they didn't take a shot at him. And Richard Sherman's a great corner. Trust me, great corner. But you have to go at him. You have to keep him honest.
You know what, Skip Bayless? I don't think I've ever missed Terrell Owens more than I missed him last night. He never played for Green Bay, didn't make it on Seattle. But I'm talking about the moments of petulance that hurt his career. A moment like last night was where you needed a Terrell Owens on that roster. Somebody that would have gotten Aaron Rodgers' face, that would have fought with the offensive coordinator and Mike McCarthy and said, what the hell do y'all think y'all doing?
Throwing a fit on the sideline.
Because you know something? It would have been nice to see Jordy Nelson, him with his new, exorbitant contract, making some noise. Oh, you want to sit there and go after Maxwell, but when you in Richard Sherman's face, you got no problems with the ball being thrown in your direction. Where was Randall Cobb as well? This dude right here. I'm just sitting there. I'm like, are you kidding me? Oh, what are we talking about here? I'm just saying to myself, I'm telling you right now, and you know how I feel about Aaron Rodgers. We all know I'm on the record. I think he's the best. I love him. He's a bad man, the whole bit. It was unquestionably the most shameful performance I have ever seen him put forth, because he's a champion. He's not just great. It's validated by a championship. And I'm looking at this guy, Boykin. You out there against Richard Sherman. Listen, man, forget the plane ride. I'm on the sideline during the game. It's not that I didn't catch a pass. You're not even looking. You don't even look in this direction because of Richard Sherman. I thought you were the best. I thought that you, Skip, I'm going to say it for you. I'm going to do this just for you. I thought about this last night. I'm going to save this just for you. I can't believe what I'm about to say, Darren Woodson.
Don't you jump off the wagon.
Brett Favre would have never done that.
Oh.
Well, no, that's a fact.
Brett Favre.
That's a stone cold
Brett
fact.
Favre would have thrown at Richard Sherman.
Now, he might have thrown one to Richard Sherman.
He would have thrown him at Richard Sherman. He might have gotten intercepted a couple of times. Brett Favre would have thrown the ball at Richard Sherman. I can't believe that I'm almost ready to walk off the set just because I had to say that. Brett Favre would have attacked Richard Sherman. It's just, I cannot believe the quarterback that I have raved about all of these years. It was a shameful performance.
But, you know,
it was a shameful performance. I'm telling you, listen, you can sit there and say what they want to say. You fail, you fail. I never dreamed in my wildest dreams that a coach that the Mike McCarthy has proven to be, and the quarterback that Aaron Rodgers has proven to be, would allow one man to take away an entire side of the field. It was an embarrassing performance. That's why I gave Aaron Rodgers an F. I've never been more ashamed of him. I've never been ashamed of him at all until last night.
This has been a humbling morning for you.
It has been. I don't know if I could ever speak about Aaron Rodgers the same again. Not because he was, it's because he was scared.
Yeah, I know,
okay.
right. He'll love him next week.
Huh?
Okay, back to a
I know he's
very
a bad
good
boy.
point that you made to start,
Shameful.
which is little Boykin sitting over there. Strategically, if Richard Sherman has admitted publicly the week before this game he's getting bored out there, maybe mid-third quarter, he's lulled to sleep, man. Wouldn't you just once, strategically, just double move him? Just hope that he's drifting off, man.
Yeah.
He's thinking about what he's going to do after the game because he's bored. And I don't blame him for being bored.
Derek Carr, a rookie quarterback with Oakland in the preseason game, went after him.
He did, and he back-shouldered him. He got him. I agree.
It befuddles me that they didn't take a shot.
Okay, to your point, as I said earlier in the show, we kid about the bad man that is Aaron Rodgers. I don't think he's the best quarterback. We could debate that all day and the rest of the night. But the point is, he's up there.
Yeah.
And what I do love about him is, what the rest of the league came to love about him, is he's cocky about it. He is supremely confident about his abilities. And he plays with a flair that borders on arrogance. That's the guy. And I told you, I thought going into the game, the reason I was so excited about the matchup was, I thought he was going to delight in right out of the box going at that guy over there. Not because he doesn't think he's as good as Bill, because he does think he's great. And Jordy Nelson did get paid. He's a big, physical, athletic receiver. And Aaron Rodgers loves Jordy Nelson. And he loves any of them. Just name one. You got to go at him early. And I thought maybe often, maybe just to send the message, as I said earlier, to your team, we ain't backing off. This is the toughest place to play in all of sports, a night game in Seattle. So we're up against it already. Why don't we go best against best? Why don't we show you? And again, you made the point, is it Mike McCarthy's fault or Aaron Rodgers? Aaron's got some credentials now. We know he's got MVP and Super Bowl credentials. I would think he's got a good enough relationship with that coach that he would say before, I'm talking about in the meetings on Wednesday, Coach, no, I got to go at him, at least right off the bat. I got to show him we ain't backing away.
Mike McCarthy is the head coach. He's the boss. and I've never seen a boss that deserves maybe 5 or 10% of the responsibility. Aaron Rodgers is a Super Bowl champion, widely recognized as one of, if not the best in the game. You can't tell me, and not only that, he missed about 6 games last year, and you saw how much they struggled without him because they didn't have a prepared backup. That was one of the things that it was an impediment to Green Bay last year until they got Flynn back up in there because he was familiar with some of the things that they did. Everything about Green Bay is Aaron Rodgers. You can't tell me that Aaron Rodgers can't sit there and say, oh, we ain't doing that. We going to go after this coach. We going to go after him.
But it was evident that was the game plan.
That's right.
Early on, it was evident that Jordy Nelson wasn't going to be lined up over there.
And that's another thing, too. And Jordy Nelson, we all know he's talented. Weak. The money that you just signed for, you're supposed to be looking for Richard Sherman.
I agree.
Supposed to be looking for Richard Sherman.
That was not the game.
Really? That's why I said I miss T.O. Because let me tell you something right now. Say what you want about T.O. T.O. would have wanted Richard Sherman defending him. Let's get it on. Right. You know, Michael Irvin. You brought up Michael Irvin before. What Michael Irvin, please.
And I wanted to ask
give me the ball.
I brought this up earlier, the 1994 season NFC Championship game at San Francisco, and you had the privilege and honor of playing with the greatest cornerback ever in your career. And you fell behind 21-0, which in effect forced your hand and forced Troy Aikman to say, Michael, I'm coming to you every time from this point forward. Michael on Deron, close friends, nose to nose, man to man, for about 3/4 of that game. Did Michael not win some battles?
Oh, yeah. Well, that wasn't the only game, Michael. They went tit for tat when Deron was in Atlanta.
They did?
Trust me, Deion Sanders and Michael Irvin, prideful guys. Yeah. But they were going to go at one another. And Michael was going to ask for the ball. Yeah. No doubt about it.
Insist.
Oh, yeah.
It would have been a problem, y'all.
And Troy was not afraid either.
He's not afraid.
To wing it into the flat, on the out route.
And sometimes when you put it out there, Deron will tell you, I'll give you some, but then I'm going to get mine up. The problem with most quarterbacks when they're playing against a great corner, it's not that the corner is going to make a play in here and there. Yeah. The great corners will take it back to the house, and that is the fear. The fear is I'm going to throw it out there. The timing's not going to be right. That corner's going to take it 6. I just didn't. For a guy like Aaron Rodgers, who's been in this league, has been the MVP, has won Super Bowls, he's a guy that he should take that chance. And we didn't see him take that chance.
I told Skip it's the equivalent of a boxer. I told you it's the equivalent of a boxer getting into a ring and literally sprinting around the ring all fight long. Yeah. Running. That is what Aaron Rodgers, Jordy Nelson, and Mike McCarthy did last night against Richard Sherman. They got in there and they ran away.
Aaron Rodgers is in trouble. His biggest fan gave him an F and is talking bad about him. Darren Woodson, pleasure. Thanks for being on the show.
ESPN Radio.
With the action on the court, the diamond, or the gridiron.
Comes alive.
The NBA.
The San Antonio Spurs are the world champions.
Major League Baseball.
The Boston Red Sox have won the World Series.
The new college football playoff.
The Seminoles have completed the perfect season.
You're home for the best in sports play-by-play.
ESPN Radio.
Last season when the Colts played the Broncos, Andrew Luck walked away with the win. The Broncos have now lost 6 straight games to Indianapolis in the series. Both teams enter their season opener on Sunday as favorites to win their division. But the storyline that's hard to ignore will be Peyton Manning playing his old team, the team that ushered him out the door to welcome Andrew Luck. Manning, coming off an MVP year and a Super Bowl appearance. Has Peyton Manning proved that the Colts made a mistake? Skip Bayless.
Yes, he has.
Oh, okay.
And Stephen A. Smith, I haven't backed off my original stance on this 1 inch. This is not 20/20 hindsight on my part. I said the day they pushed Peyton Manning out the back door in Indianapolis, it was a big mistake. I said that no matter how good Andrew Luck will be early on, he will not be as good as Peyton Manning will be for the next 3 years. I said Peyton has at least 3 Pro Bowl years left in that beat-up body of his, coming off the neck procedures.
Right.
And I was wrong about that because he actually has 3 MVP caliber seasons left in that battered body of his. And I point out, Denver's gone 13-3 those first 2 years, each of those first 2 years. Peyton Manning's QBR of 82.7 over the last 2 seasons leads the NFL. And just for the record, and maybe this is an unfair stat because Andrew was just a baby in this league, but Peyton Manning in those 2 years has thrown 46 more touchdown passes than Andrew Luck and 6 fewer interceptions. That's a mind-boggling stat. But Peyton will do that if you compare him to just about anybody else in the league. 46 more, 6 fewer. Now, we enter this year with the Denver Broncos, according to our Vegas odds that we use, a 5-1 pick to win the Super Bowl, just slightly behind Seattle. But we've heard a lot of the experts and a lot of the projections say Denver's going to go win this Super Bowl. Indianapolis, 22-1 to win the Super Bowl. So way on down the line. And again, Andrew Luck's QBR over the last 2 years has been 63.8, which is 8th in the league, which is pretty good. So I'm not, God knows, I'm not saying Andrew Luck is a bust. I'm not saying he's even bad. I'm not saying he's even average. He's far above average, but he's not Peyton Manning. Bottom line to this discussion, which quarterback would have given the Indianapolis Colts the best chance to go win a Super Bowl 2 years ago, last year, and this year? Is there any doubt about it? It's got to be Peyton Manning. I'm sorry. You can tell me all you want about Andrew Luck's going to be, he's going to be. It's pay me now, baby. In this league, it is all about what can you do now. Not for long. Thank you very much. That's what it is. You maximize your chances to win this year. Not 3 years from now or 5 years from now. This year. 3 years of Peyton or 3 years of Andrew Luck in Indy. In the Colts fans' heart of hearts, they know I'm right about this. It should have been Peyton Manning.
I'm laughing because Stephen A. is like, go ahead.
Are you finished?
I knew he was going to say, are you finished? I was waiting for that.
Finish. Skip Bayless.
I think this whole topic is finished because I can't see what you could say.
Well, first of all, several things. Number one, you and I have debated this topic time and time again. The difference between me and you is that I'm honest with the American public. You are duplicitous. You're real shady. You know, you can be shady when it comes. Because again, I'm going to repeat what I said on Mike and Mike early this morning. Anyone arguing the facts with you will lose because you know what you're talking about. That is never to be questioned. And that's why you're my man. So we're good with that. We're good with that. But you need to understand that. See, the beauty of you, what makes you such a slickster, and I say that affectionately because I don't mind, but what makes you a slickster, Skip Bayless, is that, see, you'll know 10 facts, but you'll reveal 8. And you'll leave out 2 that you don't want anybody to know. Like, for example, you bring up numbers in QBRs. Tom Brady's QBR didn't necessarily compare with Peyton Manning's, not to mention the fact that Peyton Manning had 55 touchdown passes. Do you know how much Tom Brady had last year? 25.
Wait, is this a Tom Brady topic?
No, I'm getting to a point. 30 touchdowns less than Peyton Manning. But it doesn't stop you from saying Tom Brady's the best, and he's Tom Brady, right? But when it comes to Andrew Luck, to make your point, oh no, I'm gonna alleviate that little tidbit right there. My point to you is this. Point number 2. I have never said that in the first 3 years of Andrew Luck's career, he would be better than Peyton Manning. That was never my issue. The issue and the dichotomy that exists between your position and mine, which is an ocean wide, is simply this. You're thinking about the here and now because it's a win-now league. My position is that the Colts had to make a decision because Peyton Manning's coming off those back surgeries. The offensive line that Andrew Luck has had to work with over the last 2 years is shaky, evidenced by the 73 times he's been sacked in his first 2 years in the NFL. And I make the argument that I would pick the next 15 to 20 years over 5. That was my position. It's not about Peyton Manning being superior to Andrew Luck or whether or not that was the case, because we know that Peyton Manning is a better quarterback than Andrew Luck now. The difference is that when Peyton Manning retires, Andrew Luck's going to have at least another decade to 15 years in this league being Andrew Luck. 2 consecutive 11-5 seasons, 2 consecutive playoff appearances, and oh, by the way, just as many Super Bowl championship rings over that same span as Peyton Manning, which is 0. So when you make the argument...
How many Super Bowl appearances?
No, forget it. One.
There was one.
So what?
You got to give him that.
Who cares? No, I don't.
Who cares?
No, I don't. No, I don't. With Peyton Manning, no, I don't. If Andrew Luck made the Super Bowl, it would be far more valuable because he's only had 2 years in the league. Peyton Manning, being in the league for more than 15 years, having 1 Super Bowl victory on his resume, 2 Super Bowl losses, him making the Super Bowl, I understand it's not fair to him because he's one of the greats all time, and I love Peyton Manning. But he's so great that just getting to the Super Bowl, that's not the measuring stick for Peyton Manning. It's about winning. How many do you have in the end? It's unfair, but it's reality. Andrew Luck doesn't have that kind of litmus test right now because he's only been in the league for 2 years. Shaky offensive line, suspect running game, sacked 73 times in 2 years, okay? Reggie Wayne goes down, only played 7 games last year, but Andrew Luck,
2 receivers are pretty good.
T.Y. Hilton is no joke. I understand that, okay? Tight end, Dwayne Allen was out with a hip injury for most of last season, but still in all, suspect running games, no offensive line to speak of. Reggie Wayne is primary receiver going down. Andrew Luck still guided the Indianapolis Colts to the playoffs, still 11-5 both years, still has as many Super Bowl rings as Peyton Manning, which is 0. That is the argument.
Well, and you know, I am such a slickster, I must admit, publicly on national TV, I neglected to mention a crucial statistic here.
Which was?
Andrew Luck last year in the playoffs threw 7 interceptions in 2 games. 7!
That's right.
America. I swept that under the carpet, and I'm sorry.
Still dropped 45 points on Kansas City.
He threw 4 interceptions at Foxborough. 3 interceptions against Kansas City.
Still dropped 45 points on Kansas City.
Okay, so will you admit to me that Indy would have had a better chance of getting to the Super Bowl with Peyton Manning?
No.
The last 2 years and this year?
No. You know why? Because Peyton Manning would not have had the protection for Indy that he had prior to the Super Bowl.
He doesn't need protection because he gets rid of the football.
The Seattle Seahawks definitely showed he needed protection. He definitely showed that. They definitely
There's
showed
only
that.
one Seattle Seahawks. How many other times did he get sacked
All
last
I'm saying
year?
to you is that
even lost Ryan Clady.
But that's what I
sacked
said.
A few times?
Even losing Ryan Clady, the bottom line is Peyton Manning still was protected better than Andrew Luck.
Okay, and Andrew Luck, I saw a stat the other day, was hit the most times of any quarterback in the league, all told, because he will run with the football occasionally. We know that.
Because he can run.
Peyton Manning will go down.
Peyton Manning will go down because he's not going to take unnecessary hits. I'm not knocking that.
How many hits can Andrew Luck keep taking?
He's a big boy.
Okay, he is, but you know what?
He's a big boy.
Yeah.
Ben Roethlisberger's a big boy, and I don't know.
And he's still taking it.
I don't know,
And he's still taking it. He's only 32, and he doesn't need to take much more, but Ben Roethlisberger will be better.
Back on topic before we go. Colts, Broncos, who wins, Stephen A?
I'm going to go with the Broncos for this particular game.
Thank you.
I mean, Hakeem Nicks being there with Reggie Wayne, having something to prove, it's a lot. But the suspect running game, the offensive line, Grigson, the GM, we're going to see if he protects Andrew Luck this year by putting the necessary pieces in front of him. But in the end, the Denver Broncos are a well-oiled machine. Even though they got some new bodies up in there, they still are a well-oiled machine, and I think they're going to win this regular season.
Even though Tom Brady is still the best quarterback in all of football, Peyton Manning will win the MVP this year, and he will guide his team to a win on Sunday night.
Okay, I have a stat that says it might be Peyton Manning might be the best quarterback in the league.
Who said that?
This is according to Deontay.
Deontay?
Yeah,
oh, that's his opinion.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
We don't have anything to prove to anybody else out there. All we have to do is go out and be the team that we know we can be. So I guess if you want to say it, we have a lot to prove to ourselves within this building, and it's about all of us going out there and being successful. And like I've said many times, this whole offseason, they go as I go. You know, if I play well, we play well. If I don't play well, we don't play well. And I understand that. They understand that. And I'm going to do my best, and I promise I'll play well for them.
He's going to promise to play well, Skip. All right. Well, RG3 thinks he has nothing left to prove. Is he right? Robert Griffin III will take on J.J. Watt. That new contract in the Texans defense this Sunday in Houston. Stephen A. Smith. I'm looking for an objective opinion from you because I know you can be objective in this particular case. What do you expect from RG3 this weekend?
Well, first of all, he's going to have a better season because it can't be much worse than it was last year. 3-13. you know, his name took a significant hit. We thought we knew everything, and then his father reached out to me and swore otherwise in terms of some of the erroneous information that was being put out there about him. And, you know, one of the things that I made a promise to both of them, RG3 and his dad, is that, you know what, listen, people say a lot of stuff. You've got something different to say that's in opposition to some of the stuff being out there. I'm right here. I'll make sure that the world hears what you have to say. But there's nothing that anybody can do for your game but you, if you're RG3. And right now, the excuses are zero. When you look, matter of fact, the only thing that's left for RG3, Skip, is that you can say that the Redskins don't have the hugs, like for their years of success. That offensive line that just pile through you, you know, with Riggins running the football and stuff. You don't have
our very own Mark May.
That's right, and Mark May. That's right. You don't have, and certainly he don't look like that now. He looks in tip-top shape. But I'm just saying the thing about it,
he stays on that elliptical machine.
He stays on that elliptical machine. Nothing wrong with it. Ain't nothing wrong with it. But here's the deal: Alfred Morris can go. He's your first and second down back. On third down, you've got Alou coming out of the backfield. He's a good pass-catching option. You've got Jordan Reed as your tight end. You got Pierre Garçon already in tow. You acquired Deshaun Jackson and Andre Roberts from Arizona. You got Deshaun Jackson. Philadelphia let him go. You've got Roberts from Arizona. You've got running backs. You've got receivers. You've got tight ends. You know, and if your offensive line is halfway decent, then it is all on RG3. And when you consider what people are saying about the Cowboys and the Giants in your own division, then that's even less of an excuse that you have. So, to me, unless the offensive line just falls asleep at the wheel and they can't protect, they can't run block, they can't pass protect, there is no excuse for RG3 because of the defensive side of the ball. Let me tell you something right now. This dude, Keenan Robinson, whatever his name is, spelling for replacing London Fletcher. I'm looking at him. He's been impressive. You got a Rakbo and Kerrigan. They're there. They're impressive. You got Hatcher from the Dallas Cowboys. He's there. You look at the Redskins defense, and Jim Haslett has remained with the team, and he's controlling the strings. He's pulling the strings. Now they're going after cats. The Redskins defense, some say, looks different. There are no excuses for RG3.
No excuses.
He's got to show
up. I agree. I reiterate, before the RG3 luck draft, I went way to the end of the limb and I said, RG3 will prove long-term to be better in the National Football League than Andrew Luck. And for one golden year, I felt so good about that. And I don't feel so good about it right now because the only reason I didn't pick the Redskins to win the NFC East was my quarterback, Robert Griffin III, because on almost a daily basis, including yesterday, he stands in front of the gathered media and he soul searches about RG, as I call him, not 3, but I. Yesterday, we heard the same thing. We go as I go. I don't want to hear that anymore. Even though that may be the truth, I don't want to hear him say it. Yesterday, he reiterated, I'm not worried about what anyone thinks of me, when it sure sounds like that's all he's worried about is what people think about him. And I ask you, do you ever hear Russell Wilson stand before the media and soul search about my feelings and my No, it's a we. It's always a we. Well, seriously, does Brady do it? They work to avoid talking about themselves. They want to talk about their teams.
Cam Newton did it for a while.
A little bit.
Struggled,
a little bit.
Not as much as
But Skip, may I say this? In fairness to RG3, I don't know if those guys are under that kind of bubble. Yes, Peyton Manning is Peyton Manning, but he's always been, it's the Manning clan, the Manning family, the statesmen of the game.
Yeah.
In Tom Brady's case, you got Bill Belichick. You got the Patriots organization in the Patriot way.
Okay.
You know, with Russell Wilson, it's the Legion of Boom in the defense, and the offense just doesn't have to mess it up. Since RG3 arrived in the nation's capital, everything has been about him because Snyder basically has helped make it about him to sell the franchise as
Did you listen to yourself when you opened this up by telling me about all the pieces that are now in place?
Yeah.
They're in place. No more excuses.
No, I agree with that. I'm just talking about what you said in terms of he's talking about himself. Well, he's the one under attack, so it's hard not to.
It's time to go.
It's time to
play.
That's it.
It's time to produce.
And yet, I'm looking at this, and I'm thinking, this is wrong. I looked at the point spread. The Texans at home, coming off a 2-14 season, are favored by 3. Well, usually you get 3 for home field advantage. So Vegas is basically saying the Texans coming off 2-14, the Redskins are kind of a toss-up.
Yeah.
Seriously?
Washington better win that game.
What? You better win this
Washington
game.
better win that game.
You better. And I'm picking them. I'm picking the Redskins to win a fairly close game, but they have to win this to get back on track. And yet, in the preseason, did you see any flash of the Rookie of the Year, RG3? Thank you.
No.
Thank you.
None.
No.
I better see it now.
Who you pick?
Oh, I'm picking the Redskins to win that game.
What's your score?
They better not lose that game. I'm picking the Redskins to win, I'd say, 27-17.
I got 24-20.
24-20.
This is Ryan Fitzpatrick on the other side.
Let me tell you something. If they don't win, I don't want to be here on Monday because I don't even want to hear what you have to say about it. It's going to be uncomfortable. Week 2 of college football is this the weekend, and the big non-conference matchup that everyone's talking about is Michigan State versus Oregon. It's the first AP Top 10 matchup of the season, and Oregon is favored to win. This game could be a critical point for both teams on the road to the playoff. We welcome in someone who hasn't been here for. We used to call him the Oracle.
Yeah.
Do we still call you the Oracle?
Yes, we can.
It's up to you.
You want to?
Yes.
Okay.
Comes college football, absolutely.
Okay. You're the Oracle then, also known
You got to
as.
qualify it though, right? When it comes to college football.
I didn't mean it that way. I didn't mean it that way.
He's the Oracle only when it comes to college football. We welcome in Robert Smith. Okay, so here's the question: will the loser of Saturday's game be eliminated from playoff consideration?
I don't think so. I like Oregon's chances better as the season goes on if they lost this game, simply because of what they're going to face inside of the Pac-12. They're going to have an opportunity to get Stanford. They're going to play UCLA. I think that just because of the perception and some of the reality. You look at the Big Ten. Last week Wisconsin loses to LSU.
Probably shouldn't have.
Terrible loss for Northwestern, losing to Cal, a Cal team that hadn't beaten an FBS team since October of 2012. You look at Ohio State, obviously Braxton Miller out for the season. So I think the perception is that the Big Ten isn't really one of the higher echelon conferences, and I think that's a fair statement. But here's the thing: we'll say, okay, well, if the team loses, are they definitely out with one loss? I think that there's a lot of craziness, as there mostly is in college football. There's a lot of craziness that we have absolutely no clue of right now. We look at the SEC and Alabama. They struggled against West Virginia, an improved West Virginia team last week. Everybody thought, okay, well, Alabama, they're definitely going to be in it. They're going to be fine. We don't know what's going to happen there. The Big 12 got a lot murkier, I think. We talk about that West Virginia team. How about Oklahoma State and the way they played against Florida State last week? Yeah, those guys obviously don't have a conference championship game, but I think there's a lot of craziness left out there. But I don't think either one of these teams, by any stretch of the imagination, is completely out of it with a loss. But I think Michigan State will have a much tougher time getting back in the conversation, because remember, we have 4 spots in the college football playoff, 5 major conferences.
Just so I'm clear, craziness, you mean uncertainty?
And craziness, uncertainty, yes.
Okay.
Well, there's probably going to be a little bit of both.
Yes, okay.
Uncertainty in the way the games are played, and there'll probably be a little controversy, too.
Okay.
In a weird kind of way, what you're saying about Michigan State, I agree with, but that's why I think it can also be devastating for Oregon because of the question marks about the Big Ten. So if you lose to a team that's questionable because of the conference that they're playing in, which is questionable, I think that could basically help to diminish your stature to some degree. I didn't like how UCLA played the other day against Virginia. I wasn't impressed. I wasn't impressed. So you having UCLA on your schedule, even though it's a road game at UCLA, I'm not so sure. Now, Stanford's a different matter altogether. I look at Michigan State. Their defense is big time. We all know that. At least it was last year. We're going to see what Cook and those boys do this year. But I do believe you when you say it's more important for Michigan State. It's just that I think because of the reasons you're saying, it's more important for Michigan State. I think that's why Oregon can't afford to lose to them.
Yeah, and part of it, and I agree about UCLA. I mean, give some credit to John Tenuta, first of all, the Virginia defensive coordinator. Tremendous defensive coordinator, did a great job. But I think UCLA won.
Yeah.
So you look at the Big Ten. Wisconsin's already got that loss on the other side. Iowa struggled against Northern Iowa. So when you look at Michigan State being in the more powerful East going against the West, if they go through the rest of the season and they've already got those teams that, one of them already has a loss in Wisconsin. That's one of those teams that could be a contender. We look at UCLA, sure, they struggled, but they did win. So if we're looking at who beats who and how do all these comparisons happen, the transitive property and all that kind of stuff, if the team has a loss and the team doesn't have a loss, there's a big difference there.
I disagree with your take on this because to me, the loser of this game is going to be out. Oh, wow. We're only talking about 4 teams making the playoffs. So let's do the hypothetical. If Oregon loses at home to a team, even the best team from a down conference, I just think that's a blemish that it's a taint on your record that you're not going to be able to erase and get past at the end of the year, no matter what happens within the Pac-12. And all of a sudden, we're looking at the Wisconsin loss, and this week we've got Michigan having to go to Notre Dame. I think Michigan will lose that game. Then we got Virginia Tech at Ohio State. You're a Buckeye, but if Ohio State even struggles at home with that game, which they might, and then what if Michigan State loses at Oregon? They're out, man, because their conference people will just laugh at it and say, no. It's just not good enough to compete with the other conferences.
I think that we're assuming too much. What happens every year is, what are we going to do? There are going to be all these teams that are going to be undefeated at the end of the year. I think we're doing the same thing looking at the playoff right now. There are going to be all these one-loss teams, and one conference is going to get left out. Let's not put Florida State in this thing automatically. I know it was against Miami. Miami's had their struggles, but Louisville looked solid. Florida is going to be much improved this season. Florida State has to play them at the end of the year. By saying that somebody is automatically out because they lose this game assumes too much about what's going to happen in the rest of the country.
I agree with that too, but I got to ask you this question because I wasn't too impressed with what I saw from Florida State or Alabama for obvious reasons. We saw what we saw with Florida State against Oklahoma State, with Alabama against West Virginia. But I must ask you, as you look at these playoffs that are coming about, how do you think it's going to be judged in terms of where we're ranking teams, how we're looking at teams, compared to what we've been accustomed to all of these years? How has that changed in your eyes?
Well, first of all, I like the committee idea, and a lot of people don't like this. They say they don't know enough about football, and they're not going to make the right choice. I think that we're talking about very intelligent people that will be presented with a wide array of information that they will be able to dissect internally, but then to discuss externally. And it will not just be sitting in an office making a vote about what they think. It'll be having a conversation like we're having right now.
Okay.
I think that this process is going to be good. I wish it was televised. I'd love to see what that looks like.
That's a good idea.
Interesting.
But I think that they're going to make the right choice here, and they're going to evaluate a lot of information. One of the most crucial aspects for me, when you start talking about strength of schedule, and what exactly does that mean? This concept has come up of strength of record, and that's basically how does a team's schedule, strength of schedule, evolve as games get played? On paper, it may have looked one way. Nobody thought Oklahoma State was going to be what they're going to be, I believe, this year. West Virginia, this is a team that's going to get Oklahoma and Baylor at home this year. Those are going to be much tougher teams than we thought. So I think it's going to work. I think there's going to be a lot of information to digest, but I think that they'll do a good job.
It's interesting that you brought that up because I'm looking at Florida State's schedule, and I thought it was going to be considerably weaker because it's the ACC. But then I'm looking at Clemson. Clemson's here, even though we didn't like what we saw. I'm just saying Clemson, Notre Dame, Louisville is on the schedule, is what I'm saying. So that kind of helps Florida State. But
do you think Florida State's going to lose one of those games?
No.
Stop it.
I'm just talking schedule.
Florida State is in the playoffs to me. And
so just give it to them now.
Give it to them now. And to me, in the end, 2 SEC teams will deserve to be in the playoffs. You disagree?
I do disagree with that.
Why?
Well, first of all, there's a lot of football left to be played. Alabama's clearly not as strong as we thought that they are. I think.
Well, let's give it a week or two.
Well, okay, and Georgia beat a Clemson team that has had its share of struggles. Okay,
Yeah.
I mean defensively that line pretty good, but they got pounded in this one. LSU is going to have they're not going to be a contender. Okay. That quarterback situation is not going to work out. Jennings couldn't do it. Harris, a lot of people thought he was going to evolve. He's not there. I don't think he's close to being there. Auburn, to me, I think, is a team that is going to surprise some people. Jeremy Johnson comes in there last week, was throwing it all over the yard. 12 of 16 in that game.
Yep.
Nick Marshall comes in with a little mop-up duty. 4 of 6 in that one.
Okay, so
here's what I think we have a huge potential of because of that. It's not saying that there are going to be 2 SEC teams. I think we're going to see more cannibalizing within conferences, and the SEC, I think, is a place where you're most likely to see that just because of the depth of talent.
We're blowing through stop signs, guys. We're blowing through stop signs. Quick takes. They're back by popular demand. Just in time for the 2014 NFL season. It's officially underway.
My music here.
It's your jam? You guys got to get a shot at him moving and grooving. I guess not.
Here we go.
Here we go. We're starting our quick takes. Let's talk about Sunday's games. Falcons, Saints. Who wins?
Division game, they're usually close, but New Orleans is just much better. I'm going to go New Orleans winning by 14, 34-20.
I'm not going to go that deep because Julio Jones is returning. We're hoping Julio Jones and Roddy White is going to be there. You got to replace Tony Gonzalez. I'm thinking they're going to have some semblance of a running game. I'm going to roll with New Orleans, but closer than you think. I'm going to pick it 30-22.
Ravens, Bengals, Skip. Who gets it?
I have both these teams making the playoffs. Ravens favored at home by only 1.5 points, but I like the Ravens to grind this one out over Cincy 23-17.
I'm rolling with the Ravens in this one on their home turf. I don't trust Cincinnati. I think it'll be a dogfight for at least 3 quarters or so, but ultimately I'm going with the Ravens to win this game 26-21.
All right, Cam Newton's still questionable for Sunday's opener at Tampa Bay, but who gets it? Panthers, Bucks, Skip.
As you know, I am bullish on those Bucks. They will make the playoffs. Carolina will not. It starts right here. Tampa Bay 21-10.
It starts right here, but not because of the reasons you mentioned. The Panthers are not what they used to be. Lose the top 4 weapons, etc. Tampa Bay is going to win this game. I'm picking Tampa Bay 27. Carolina 17.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let's set to Brady's division. Patriots versus Miami.
Patriots lost this game at Miami last year. Danny Amendola dropped one. He'll catch 5 this time. Patriots catch fire, win 30-17.
Patriots 35-17.
Steelers, Johnny. Who wins?
We will not see Johnny Football or Johnny Cleveland in this game, which means Cleveland has no hope. I think Pittsburgh wins fairly easily, 28-17.
Steelers 30-20.
There you go. We did
done.
That. We have 5 seconds.